Hey everybody, Brett for AstartesGaming here, back with another look at Blood Bowl 2. It's been a long time. I did cover the game back when it released, and we played partway through a season. I really enjoy Blood Bowl. I have never had the fortune of playing it on tabletop, but I did put a lot of time into the first game, and a little bit of time into Blood Bowl 2, not as much as I would have liked, but the game wasn't exactly to my liking, although I did still enjoy it. I didn't enjoy all aspects of it. But anyways, Blood Bowl 2 Legendary Edition released a week ago today, and so I figured we would check it out and see what, if anything, has been added and why you might be interested in taking another look at it. So, in my mind, there's two big additions that we will go over extensively in this video. But just to sort of give you a brief overview, you're getting more races. I believe they're adding all of the DLC races into this. Don't quote me on that because I had most of them purchased already, so I don't know which ones were given to me through Legendary Edition versus which ones I already had. A new stadium, and then it says many other features. And again, we'll get into the two big ones in my mind in just a second. Speaking of like two, there is essentially two different versions of Legendary Edition. One is a standalone for people that didn't own Blood Bowl 2 already, so you can basically purchase this and it gives you everything that would be contained in Legendary Edition right out of the gate. If you already had Blood Bowl 2, then instead what you would purchase, rather than buying a whole new game that's essentially the same game with more content, there is a expansion. I think it's called like the official expansion or something. It's in the DLC shop for Blood Bowl 2 on Steam. So if you go in there, there's a bunch of factions, and then there's like the official expansion, and that basically upgrades your game from Blood Bowl 2 to Blood Bowl 2 Legendary Edition. So I think it's like $25 for the upgrade. I'm not sure how much they're selling the full version for, but I think if you're buying Blood Bowl 2 Legendary Edition standalone, you're getting a little bit better deal, because I'm pretty sure that you're not paying a full $60 for it, whereas I paid, I think, pretty close to full price for Blood Bowl 2, and then they got me for another $25 for the Legendary Edition upgrade. But anywho, so there's basically two versions. Again, if you don't have Blood Bowl 2, you get Legendary Edition. If you have it, you get the expansion upgrade. That said, the two big features in my mind that this adds is mixed teams. So there's a couple of race combinations that you can actually play in your teams now, rather than being strictly human or whatever. So let's look at that real quick, because I think that's a really, really cool one, and something that really, really adds to the game. So if you go into your team management tab, you now have Create Team or Create Mixed Team. If you go to Create Team, you're going to get the same options you did before, with whatever races you have unlocked, or in this case, all of them, since you now have Legendary Edition. So there's all the different races in here, blah blah blah. But if you go to Create Mixed Team, you have different options. So you're not going to have any single race available anymore. If you want to do that, again, go back to here and just do it as you normally would. But what this does is it allows you to play teams with pre-selected mixes of races. Now, one thing that would have been really cool is pretty much just like a free choice where you can pick any race you want, to be involved, but there's still some good options here. So you have the Alliance of Goodness, which gives you Bretonnians, humans, dwarves, halflings, and wood elves. So all your like goody two-shoes factions in Warhammer you can put into one team here, and that's kind of cool. It obviously gives you a ton of diversity, because you can use like dwarf linemen with like human throwers and Bretonnian runners. Don't know why you'd bring halflings, maybe for the trees, and maybe like wood elf receivers or runners or whatever they're called. But yeah, you've got some cool mixes here. So Chaotic Pact gives you Underworld Denizens. I'm not sure what those guys are, but Chaos, Skaven, and Dark Elves. Afterlife United. So this is basically like all the undead factions put together. Undead, Necromantic, Khemri, which are the skeleton like Egyptians here, and then vampires. I'm not sure why that's grayed out, to be honest. Maybe that's a DLC I don't have. Superior Being Ring, which gives us High Elves, Vampires, Chaos Dwarves, and Bretonnians. Basically everybody who thinks they're better than everybody else. The Union of Small People, which for some reason has ogres in it, but you have ogres, goblins, and halflings. Kind of a cool mixture if you want to play like ogres and halflings in a team. That would be kind of interesting. I don't like goblins, so I probably wouldn't bring them. And that seems like a weird mix, but definitely ogres and halflings. That would be cool. The Violence Together mix, which is basically just every race that likes to hurt people. I think dwarves would have fit in here nicely, but it seems like they wanted to do like the bad guy factions. So you got orcs, goblins, lizardmen, and ogres. This team is never going to score any points, but they're going to hurt everybody. You have the Elfic Grand Coalition, which is basically just all the different elf factions squished together. Chaos Gods Selection, so you have Chaos and Nurgle, which is just another type of chaos. The Far East Association, which is like, I'm not sure what to call this one, but Chaos Dwarves, Orcs, Goblins, Skaven, and Ogres. So like a selection of quote-unquote bad guys, although there's no chaos in here really, so I don't know if you could say that. Maybe, I wouldn't call them like chaotic neutral either. You have the Anti-Fur Society, basically all the factions that really like wearing fur. If you don't remember this, the World Wildlife Fund and PETA came out against Warhammer for some reason, sort of denouncing the fact that characters within Warhammer wore fur, which I find really interesting because, like, of all the things, like, in every fantasy universe I can think of, people wear fur. Like in the Elder Scrolls, obviously, the Dragonborn is wearing all sorts of fur. The Nords are always wearing fur. I just don't see why they would have singled out Warhammer specifically, but they did. And so rather than just cave in, they did something really awesome, and they created this. They basically built an entire team selection of just like, fuck you, PETA and World Wildlife Fund. Not that I'm like for animal cruelty or anything. PETA's kind of ridiculous, and they need to learn how to pick their battles. And this is one of those instances, so I found this really funny. And then we're back to, oh no, the Human League. We haven't seen this one yet. So this is just all the factions or races that are essentially human squished together. So humans, Bretonnian, Kislev, which is like Warhammer Russians, Norse, and Amazons. And then we're back to the Alliance of Goodness. So these mixed teams are really, really cool. Let's jump into one just so you can sort of see how they work. We'll do, I want to do one where I actually have all the races available. So we'll do the Grand Coalition of Elves here. And it works pretty much the same in this screen. You basically pick a logo, team motto, so on and so forth. I'm just going to do something really quick here. We'll call them Elves, and let's see, we got color options. Sure. Apparently that name's taken. Elves suck. How about that? Oh, okay, that's forbidden apparently. Elves are cool. Should have capitalized that. So here are the different stadiums. I don't think Nagaroth is new. Let's see, I think this is the new one. So Nehekara, which is like the undead Egyptian guys. So we'll do this one, and we'll call it the Stadium. I obviously didn't come up with names for this. I'm just spitballing really quickly. No, we don't want to do that. We want to look at it ourselves, because that was the whole point of me doing this. So you go into the same character selection screen as you normally would. However, you now have this that lets you cycle through different races. So we have the Elven Union, the High Elves, the Dark Elves, and the Wood Elves. The way the team roster works is you pretty much ignore everything down here and just look at the max number, because obviously you're not going to be able to fill these out when you're choosing like 2 guys from here and then, 2 from here, and say 1 of these and 1 of these, and maybe a couple of these guys. So yeah, that's how you select stuff. By the way, if you guys didn't know how to customize characters in this, the way you do it, and the only way to do it, is to click on these portraits while you're choosing them, and you can change their heads right here. So you can change their name, change their head. Once you do that though and click buy, it's pretty much locked in, so you can't change anything from there. And then you go ahead and you confirm your purchases, and I have no idea what I'm doing here. So this team is probably going to suck, but, you know, this is just for practice. Or not for practice, for display purposes. So here's our team. And, yeah, we can now play games in single player with this, or you can play online matches as long as they are mixed team enabled. And I think you can play full like multiplayer seasons as well, as long as the commissioner has them enabled for mixed team. I think you can play like mixed team and non-mixed team together. You can do strictly non-mixed team and strictly mixed team, so you can kind of choose however you want to do that. I'm going to delete this team because I have no desire to, you know, play with them. And let's go back and we'll take a look at the other edition I think is, you know, worthy of giving this a look. So we'll go to play in a league, and we need to choose a team that's not already in one. So let's go with the second breakfast, my halfling team. And then let's see, how do I do this? We need to, yeah, join the league. That's what I meant to click. So join a league, and down here, so we have solo, multiplayer, those were already there. We have Eternal League, and this is sort of like, if you've ever played like Madden or any professional sports video game, they have like a single season, they have like exhibition matches, and then they have like franchise mode. That's essentially what this is. So this is like your franchise mode, and this gives you basically a campaign with your created team, whereas before you had to play as like the Reichland Reavers or something in the campaign. But this essentially lets you play like an endless quote-unquote franchise mode with your created team. So brand new solo mode, the Eternal League allows you to play competitions alone against the AI. Choose up to 3 competitions to compete in per period. Each season is split into 4 periods, and both you and your opponent's teams will evolve from competition to competition and from season to season. So whereas before you'd play a single season and, you know, you would kind of get beat up throughout the season, and at the end you'd have a championship or whatever, and then you'd start a new one, you know? Here, it's basically carrying that over from the beginning all the way through however long you decide to play it before you get bored or give up. So, apparently I only have the one to participate in right here. I'm not going to get actually into this, like I don't want to, you know, play through a whole campaign right now. Or actually, is there multiple ones? I'm curious. Let's see. I'm clicking around. I don't see... Ah, here we go. So, there are entrance conditions as well. No reward. First 2 teams receive a ticket that allows access to the Chaos Cup competition. So, different ones have different rewards and different conditions and reasons why you might want to enter them. This is really cool, though. And apparently, it said we could choose, up to 3 of them. For this is period 1, 2, 3, 4, obviously, and then we start another season. But yeah, this is, again, like your franchise mode for Blood Bowl, which I think is really cool. This is something that the game needed, in my opinion. I still strongly believe that the game needs more customization. That is probably the biggest fall off from the original Blood Bowl to Blood Bowl 2, is the fact that the teams don't even really feel like they're yours. You basically just grab, you know, an optimal build for your team, whatever race you're playing. That's one nice thing about the mixed race teams now is I'm sure there's optimal builds for those too, but I don't know that anybody's discovered, like, you know, strict ones yet. Whereas before, like if you were playing dwarves, there was a certain team build you needed, and if you didn't have that, then you weren't playing optimally, so why were you playing at all, kind of thing. I'm not a min-maxer, so I don't really play like that, but I don't play online. You can get away with not min-maxing against the PC, or against the AI, but if you're playing against people online, you kind of need to, you know, min-max at least a little bit if you're going to be competitive. So, I don't remember what I was talking about. That tangent completely threw me off. However, oh right, customization. So, again, just changing names and faces does not really do it for me. In the original Blood Bowl, when your character's leveled up to a certain degree, you could get armor upgrades to make them visually distinct. You could change their faces and names during campaigns even, so if you got a thrower who ended up becoming like your star quarterback, you could, you know, sort of make him look the part so he was noticeable on the field, where you know, he didn't just look like another generic guy, even though he was like your best player far and away. Can't really do that in this game, unfortunately, and that's something that I think is a real shame, because to me, like, the organic moments in game modes like this is what really makes the game. You know, playing through something, having a star player emerge, not necessarily just like buying a named character and having him be your best player, but somebody that you just picked up like everybody else that somehow became better, and, you know, turning him into an actual character and letting those organic story moments happen. That's something that a lot of developers just kind of ignore these days. And I think it's stupid, because it's not hard for them to do. It's really not hard to program. I mean, art assets are difficult to come up with, but just allowing you to make the same changes you can at team creation after the team's already been created, that's not that hard for them to do. It's just a couple of UI changes. So yeah, that's still a glaring issue in Blood Bowl 2, and one that I will continue to complain about until they fix it, which they probably never will. But those are my two big additions for Legendary Edition. Again, I think they're worthy of coming back and checking out. The mixed teams especially are going to add a whole lot to the game, whether you were playing in single player or multiplayer online, because the potential for like creativity in teams now and different strategies really opens up. You can again have like elven and human skill players with like dwarven blockers, which gives you, like, you know, the best of all things. You're not limited to typical race strengths and weaknesses anymore. And then for people like me who don't really enjoy playing online against other people but really like playing against the AI, we now have a single player mode that gives us a reason to keep coming back, rather than it being just a bunch of one-off seasons, or being forced to play as the Reichland Reavers for whatever reason. So let me know what you guys think if you have Legendary Edition. Did you think it was worth the upgrade? Are you happy with what you got, or are you disappointed? What else? If you haven't played Blood Bowl 2, do you think these new features might make you interested in coming in and checking it out now? But I guess I'll leave it here, so let me know what you guys think about those things in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I had a great time talking about some Blood Bowl 2 with you, and I look forward to seeing you guys back here for maybe some more Blood Bowl 2 videos. I don't know. If you guys want to see me do a full season, let me know in the comments as well. But yeah, thanks for watching.